All right, greetings. Welcome back to Blackburn News, where everything is connected. How y'all doing? It's shaping up to be a hot one today. Word on the street is it's hot. Yeah, big old fat heat wave happening in the south of the U.S., Southwest, and that extends into Los Angeles. It's supposed to be very, very warm today, in the hundreds, for sure. You know how they like to underestimate the temperatures on my iPhone app. And so they, when I woke up this morning, it said 97. I was like, yeah, that means 105 or something like that. They like to just tack on 5 to whatever it is they say it's going to be, and that's nice. Last minute. Let's watch this last minute entry here from Revolutionary Blackout Network. Haven't even watched this, but I'm just seeing this right now. But this looks good. Yeah, politically, doesn't seem like people are very serious about climate change, does it? They keep saying that it's a thing, right? And again, I don't know. We've talked about this so like ad nauseum over the last few days about the disconnect in thinking of like, well, if climate change was important, why are people still driving? Or why are people flying? Or why are rich people still doing rich people things? Why are the military industrial complex still? Because simply, if I could just break it down very simply, the world operates and humans operate on power, influence, and money. And that seems to be our driving motivation. With also some subsets of like comfort and having fun and, just pleasing ourselves whenever we get a chance. And if we have money, that's who are you to say that I can't just do whatever I want with my money, right? So that those things drive human nature. Even if you're destroying the planet. So that's the issue. The issue isn't that climate change is fake because people are doing human things. The issue is that humans keep doing things to destroy the planet, even though they're destroying the planet. Like let's get that straight. Let's get that idea straight in our heads. Can we please get that idea straight in our heads? Anyways. But people really want to I don't know, misconstrue things in the most ignorant fashion. So we're here to help you think it through. If you're concerned about it, or if you have questions about it, and you want to think it through with some data, evidence, and also some basic good old common sense and some logic and stuff, putting things together, 2 + 2 = 4 and things like that. This is the place to be, right? All right, yeah, we are live on YouTube. Rockfin, Colin, thank you guys for hanging out with me today. From Revolutionary Blackout Network. Last June was the hottest month on record. Meanwhile, and several people brought this up in different ways, in very good ways. Meanwhile, Bernie Sanders and AOC are still endorsing Joe Biden despite his horrible climate record. I saw somebody say AOC is supporting this war in Ukraine. How badly is that damaging the planet? So how are you going to square that circle? How can you reconcile the fact that you are serious about climate change and yet you want to do this politically expedient thing or politically safe thing, right? You want to keep your tuchus from getting booted out of Congress. So you're going to support the war in Ukraine even though you know it's destroying the planet. And they're all doing it. They're all doing that. The US military has done countless studies on climate change, and they all go, "Yep. We're killing everything. Yep. That's what we're doing." And yet, no, we're going to war for the last drop of oil. No, we're fighting the entire planet for power and resources right to the bitter end, instead of laying it all down and going, "Join me, friends, humans, the last that we have available to us, maybe we could save ourselves from certain doom." No, they don't want to do that. They're going with, power and control to the bitter end. Power and control. And the idea of giving up the power and the control and the money is just too wild for them to consider. So if you're confused about why people are still driving or flying, or rich people are doing rich people things, or people are fighting wars, if you're confused about why, it's because humans are motivated by money, power, and control. Especially the humans that run all the things, right? All the corporations know they're killing the planet, and they can't stop killing the planet because the bottom line is the bottom line. The main thing to go, it's all about profit and profitability and the power and the money flow that all that gives to them, and they are addicted to it. They can't give it up. They can't possibly fathom a world in which they have less money, in which they have less power, in which they give up the power and the control in order to do something good. They cannot even consider it. That's why. If you're confused about why people are still driving and flying and rich people are doing rich people things. Anyways, whatever.
Last June was the hottest month ever recorded in human history. The establishment has convinced people that we can fix this problem if only we made a few personal sacrifices. Stop using plastic straws. We all have to go vegan in order to address the climate crisis. No more eating meat. Nah, fam. This is class war. Do you guys know that the top 1% is responsible for more than double the carbon emissions than the bottom 50%? And you guys know that just 100 companies is responsible for 71% of the global emissions. So how about we stop asking the working class in developing countries to make sacrifices when we need to take the top 1% and bring them to heel? And the infuriating thing is that Democrats pretend to care about this issue, but they are just as complicit as Republicans in the climate crisis. Joe Biden has expanded public drilling more than Donald Trump, and he's a fracker. Not only that, he's funding the military-industrial complex more. The military-industrial complex is the largest polluter in human history. Meanwhile, Democrats constantly funding it more. Marjorie Taylor Greene famously called out AOC for this hypocrisy. Marjorie Taylor Greene asked AOC what is the carbon footprint of the Ukraine proxy war that she's funding. Oh yeah, and don't forget, Joe Biden is the biggest eco-terrorist in human history after he bombed the Nord Stream pipeline.
Oh, snap. Everything you said was right on. That is all true. And I was going to bring that Marjorie Taylor Greene tweet. I guess I don't need to really do that now, but I was going to bring that because it's true. AOC, what is the carbon footprint of the war you're funding? Wouldn't it be better for the planet if we negotiated peace and stopped fighting wars and stopped building bombs? Wouldn't that be better for the planet? Of course it would. Of course it would. But what's going to happen if we stop building bombs? What'll happen if we stop waging war? What if somebody else is more powerful than us? What do we do? I can't possibly let go of my power and my position in order to do the right thing. I can't even. What, you're asking too much of me. AOC, you are a fraud. And we all know that. All of the squad is a fraud. The fraud squad. That's why they're called the fraud squad. They are all frauds, including Bernie Sanders. He is a fraud. He's going to support power and position and money and capital and war and the military industrial complex and whoever is in charge because it's easier. And that's unfortunate. Good point. Realize says except almost 100% of the population depends on those 60 same corporations for just about everything. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's that too. But again, they're not setting a very good example. If they were to say, hey, this climate change is real bad, we're all going to stop flying private jets to these secret meetings in mountainside hotels where we all planned it. No, we're going to all have Zoom meetings and figure out how to divest ourselves from the destroying of the planet, and in doing so, explaining to everybody else, the peons and whatnot, what's going on and why it's so bad, and everybody would probably go like, okay, yeah. I mean, seriously, it really doesn't take much. Like if like clear communication and also communication backed by action, like it wouldn't take much for people to go like, all right, I'm on, sign me up. How can I help? It really wouldn't. It's the lying that's the problem. It's the obfuscation. It's the hypocrisy. It's the mixed messages, and it's all that stuff that make people go like, nah, I don't want any part of this. I'm good. Whatever it is you guys have to say, or you're trying to sell me, I'm good. All right, we're going to look at a whole lot of that. In this show. Well, anyways, let's start with Cornel West. Cornel West is on CNN and speaking his mind and speaking the truth, and how refreshing. He's actually speaking today in Los Angeles. To something that I'm probably not going to make it to. At something I'm not going to make it to, but he's speaking today, and I wish I were going to be down there. Anyways, Cornel West on CNN says NATO provoked Russia's invasion of Ukraine, calls for concessions of territory to stop the war, and says the U.S. bears significant responsibility. Let's listen.
Know how empires behave, Sister Caitlin. If Russia had missiles in Mexico and Canada, the United States government would probably blow them to smithereens, because that's how empires behave. We had the same challenge in Cuba in 1962. So what we end up with a criminal invasion. I know some of my left-wing comrades who know it's an invasion. Criminal invasion, but a criminal invasion provoked by the expansion of NATO, which is an instrument of U.S. global power. And we have to be able to conceive of a world when we look at China, when we look at Russia, when we look at Ethiopia, when we look at Haiti, when we look at Brazil, we got to see precious human beings rather than these competitive nation states that are trying to devour more profits, more land, and more territory. Can we conceive of such a world? Can we pursue such a world? I think we have to. What's at stake? The destruction of the species, the destruction of the planet, the destruction of democracies as we know it.
But
so we're cutting against the grain, but always with a smile.
Practically speaking, what would you accept in Ukraine? Like what? I mean, Trump claims he could fix it in 24 hours. What would that look like for you?
What I would do, I would bring in the Chinese, the Turks, the African rulers. I would sit down with the Ukrainian leaders and say, we must stop this war, stop these war crimes, the cluster bombs on a variety of different
parties and make sure that we begin a diplomatic process for a just peace. And that just peace is going to have some serious concessions across the board. Russian troops have to leave. There's going to be debates over the territory. There's going to be some kind of concessions over the territory, but stop the killing. Why? Because the Ukrainian brothers and sisters are precious, and they are bearing so much of the suffering with this proxy war between the American empire and the Russian Federation. So there's responsibility and blame across the board, but the American empire does bear a significant responsibility here, even though it's not the sole or exclusive responsibility, and it's in no way a pro-Putin. People say, oh, you must...
He was saying, no, I'm not pro-Putin, if that's where you want to go with this. But true words from Cornell. And hey, he's not running as a Democrat. That's something. He is running in the Green Party. That actually is quite good. I find that also refreshing. More on Cornel West. One of the few candidates speaking in a true way about the things that are going on the planet, and also, one of the better. Here's Nico talking about how mainstream journalists attacks Dr. West for not running as a Democrat, despite the party's history of rigging its primaries against outsiders.
In this article by Eric Levitz, written in New York Magazine, he argues that people are stupid for thinking that the Democratic primaries is rigged against leftist candidates. Now, why would anyone think that the Democratic primary is rigged? Oh, because here's the former DNC chair candidate Tom Perez admitting the Democratic primaries were rigged, and here's Donna Brazile, another former DNC chair, admitting that she shared debate questions with Hillary Clinton. And by the way, the only reason Donna Brazile became the DNC chair was because Debbie Wasserman Schultz got fired because she rigged the primaries. And then there's former presidential candidate and Democratic Senator Elizabeth Warren also saying that the Democratic primary was rigged against Bernie Sanders. And then there was that time during the DNC fraud lawsuit, which happened because the DNC rigged their primaries, that the DNC's own attorney argued there in court that they could choose their own candidate and we can't do shit about it. And then there's this, Tom Perez and Bernie Sanders going on a tour together because the DNC was trying to apologize to Bernie Sanders and his supporters for cheating them during a primary. I'm going to say what they want, and I'm going to tell you that they're really upset that Cornel West is not tap dancing for the Democratic Party and is instead choosing to call out the atrocities, the hypocrisy, and the failures of the party that is supposed to be for the people.
Well said. Nico House. They don't like it. They don't like it one bit. They don't like people running outside of the Democratic Party. And I'm sure, Cornel West has enough of a following. And enough of, I think he could probably, garner enough votes to, maybe move a needle here and there on election day for sure. And of course they're going to be, he's sucking votes away from the Democratic Party. He's going to make sure that Trump wins. That kind of stuff. But Biden is just killing it, literally. When people ask you how Biden's doing as president, tell them he's killing it. President Biden just called up 3,000 reservists to augment U.S. troops in Europe as part of Operation Atlantic Resolve, I want people to understand what this troop mobilization is about. It's about preparing for a ground war with Russia. This is RFK Jr. And this sucks. Approving boots on the ground, U.S. boots on the ground in Ukraine. This is going to be great. This is going to be awesome. Just when you thought it couldn't get any hotter, things ramp up just a little more, and of course, whatever happens is going to be awesome for everyone involved, mostly the defense contractors and all the politicians that support them and get all their little kickbacks from them. 10%, don't forget, 10% for the big guy. You know what I'm saying? I saw a really great meme of Joe Biden sitting in front of a row of washing machines, and there's like money in the washing machines, and they all said 10% for the big guy. Yeah, that's good. But this is not a positive wrinkle in the situation. Joe Biden issued an executive order. He really wanted to do this. He thought this was a great idea, and he really wanted to do it right away. Approving the mobilization of select reserve forces with up to 3,000 personnel, augmenting the armed forces in support of Operation Atlantic Resolve. Yeah, boy. Anyways. So we're sending more troops, more, cluster bombs, tanks. We're out of missiles, by the way. Did you all hear that? That we're out of a particular, I think it's 155 millimeter shells, which is like the main shell that they use. That the I'm not sure, but one of their main artillery is these 155 millimeter shells, and they are out of them. So I don't know, and somebody's saying that's why they're sending the cluster bombs, because they're out of these shells. But of course, everything's going great, and clearly Russia is on their heels. We are, we're doing a lot of political talk today, but it's all related. It's all connected, if you will. Jimmy Dore, I can't argue with him here because he's correct. Again, I know that I do call out, Jimmy and Kim Iverson and some other people for doing the but he isn't saying that climate change is fake. He's saying that the solutions are fake, and we'll get to Jem Bendell too. We'll get to Jem Bendell, and we'll get to remember there was an article that came out a few weeks ago from Children's Health Defense saying that they're gonna start cracking down on people who don't go along with the solutions that the people in charge they're going to crack down on people who don't agree with the solutions that the people in charge are offering us, right? If you don't like their version of what we're going to do for climate change, then you will be cast out, silenced, whatever. And that probably is one of the reasons why Jem Bendell got booted from Twitter. Jimmy Dore says climate change is being used to destroy family farms and oppress the masses. The climate change movement has been completely co-opted. So, correct verbiage there. Co-opted. Meaning, breaking that sentence down, the climate change movement is a real movement about a real thing. Okay? He's not saying climate change is fake, and he's not saying the movement is fake. He's saying it's been co-opted, like so many other movements, by the international oligarchs, and is being used to transfer wealth upwards. if the powerful were really worried about stopping climate change, they'd actually do something about it, like shutting down the global U.S. military bases. Yeah, yep. And how about another yep? Which is the single biggest emitter of carbon dioxide in the world. But of course, they just built more bases in Syria so they could steal their oil. You can't make this up. I'm done listening to the establishment when it comes to fighting climate change because they're only using it to oppress and control. Anyways, I don't know if I'm going to play this clip he linked, but I have to agree with his points there. I'm a little concerned when people start saying like, pointing out the fakeness of the answers towards climate change, but not indicating that climate change is actually a thing that we should be concerned about, and that is really, really, it's getting a little hot under the collar. Like we should really pay attention to what's happening, like as if it's a real thing. And so I have an issue with trying to divert people's attention. Like, look over here. Oh, I think this climate change thing is a bunch of hooey. Okay, that's not where you want to point people in the direction of. When you're doing journalism, you don't want to point people that way because you're just setting them up for more pain, and nobody needs that. I don't appreciate that, honestly. But saying the true things about, what is going on as far as like the runaround from the oligarch class, as far as like, climate, right? Climate change is a real big deal. We got to kick everybody off their farms. But what about all the private jets you guys just flew to the Davos? Yeah. Anyways, and what about the line of limousines that you guys use every single day in order to get around? Yeah. Anyways, right? You don't want to. That's, obviously stupid. Let's keep going. This is funny. I don't know. I questioned whether I was going to play this or not. I don't like. Kamala Harris is just one of the worst politicians out there, worst politicians around. But I find it funny. Like, everybody's going off on, like, she said, reduce the population. See? They want to, I'm like, can you stop being so dumb about this response to her saying reduce population? She's just, honestly, she said reducing population is a goal of the climate change movement. She did say that. Again, if seen from the correct vantage point, that's not a bad idea. And just saying the words reducing population suggests, why is it that everybody who sees this take that as a suggestion that they just want to kill you? Like that, I get it. The people in power don't care about you, and they really don't. And so I can see how it's easy to think like that is their idea in their mind. But just saying reduce population doesn't imply who are you going to kill first. That does not equate. That's not logical. That's not a logical conclusion. Reduce population could mean birth control. Or accepting a population decline, right? You have countries all over the world saying, oh my God, our population is in decline. What are we going to do? You know why they say that? Because if your population is in decline, your economy will eventually be in decline. And they, again, going back to my first statement at the beginning of the video, they cannot imagine having less money, power, and control. So if your population starts going down and that leads to what? Your economy going down. Oh my God, what's going to happen to our power, our money, and our control? They actually have there's a problem with the population conversation because they know that population going down is actually bad for the economy. So they're in a catch-22. They know that population is bad for the planet, but they also know that population going down is bad for the economy. So they're saying two different things at the same time. And they know that these two things are true. It's a predicament. What are you going to do? But to just immediately jump into the idea that like, well, they said reduce it. See, they're saying it out loud. Like, what the F? Dude, I'm saying it out loud. This many people on the planet is going to hurt the planet, okay? I'm saying it out loud. That doesn't mean I'm going to, who do you want to kill first? I mean, can we not do that? Can we not just jump to the stupid remarks immediately? But everybody has got the stupid remarks today about this. But anyways, what'd she say? She said, well, exactly that, I guess.
About the impact on something like public health. When we invest in clean energy and electric vehicles and reduce population, more of our children can breathe clean air and drink clean water.
Actually, that was the best part of the equation. Reduce population. No, I don't mean killing people. Reduce population as in birth control, sensible family planning, blah, 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 right? The investing in renewables, that's not a good answer. That is the worst answer of the things that she mentioned. So, anyways. But the funny thing is that they didn't even really get to that one. Kamala just said that reducing population is the goal of climate change movement. They aren't hiding it anymore. Well, yeah, dude. I mean, if you had any sense about anything about what's going on, yes, reducing population is kind of something we should talk about. We should have a conversation about it. But to immediately think they aren't hiding it, that's their goal, is to reduce the population. They're anti-human. I mean, whatever. This kind of stuff is just scrambling people's brains. It's unfortunate. Can we have a conversation about it? Can just regular ass people have a conversation about it without it going to being about the people in charge want to kill you? Sure. Maybe. They also want to suck your energy dry. They want to tax you to death. They need your human capital and they need your human energy to keep the economy going. And they need you to keep consuming stuff that they make, right? The 60, as Realize said, the 60 corporations that run the world need you to keep consuming the stuff so that they can keep all their money in their power, right? So they actually need you for something. If they killed everybody, then there wouldn't be any economy left. Then what? So, I don't know. Just a little more thought, perhaps, people. All right. Where are we at? I don't even know why. I debated on talking about that one. And now I feel kind of stupid for even bringing it up. Anyways, let's keep going. Jim Bendel talks about on his blog why he got booted off Twitter. So his account was suspended. He said, "Be my Twitter." As I've been suspended from Twitter. I'd like to ask your help so that a Q&A on my book can be heard about. I was heartened that over 80 people joined me to discuss breaking together a freedom-loving response to collapse. The event was hosted by Katie Carr of the Deep Adaptation Forum. The video follows below. Why have I been booted from Twitter? Short answer is I don't know. I received no warnings and no explanation. The text on my account says, after careful review, we determined your account broke the Twitter rules. Although I can be radical and forthright at times responding to what I consider unfair criticism, I aim to be civil. Without further information, I'm curious. Sorry, I don't know where this sudden buzz came from. Sorry, guys. Okay. Without, where was I? Without further information, I'm curious as to the reason. Possibilities include some censorship code from old Twitter being triggered by a recent uptick in attention to my account. That's pretty logical. That's a pretty logical summation. Somebody starts getting attention, and the AI or the algorithm goes, "Hey, what's going on over here? Do we have to censor you because people like your account?" Or perhaps new Twitter doesn't like my views on the unfortunate limit of renewables and electrification to transition humanity to sustainability. Another possibility is that the account was hacked in a sophisticated way, so Twitter suspended it. I have submitted an appeal. The wider issue that this situation reminds me of is the power of global big tech in shaping how people around the world experience information and ideas. In chapter 13 of the book, I describe the evidence for how visibility filtering and shadow banning is targeting views that don't align with an eco-modern perspective. Worse, U.S. government-funded agencies are seeking to demonize such perspectives as extremist. That means we have a job on our hands to help people hear not only sober analysis of the environmental predicament, but also the more radical suggestions for how to respond. As I can't tweet to my 13.7K followers, can you help me get the word out about the Q&A? Please share the video or this blog in whatever ways you usually do that. Interesting. I do find that a very, very interesting account suspension for sure. Jem Bendell. I mean, I've been talking a lot about the things he's been saying, and I'm very appreciative of it. Didn't think that he was in the realm of people who would be suspended, but that's interesting. Again, I say this again. If you watch this show on YouTube, I highly suggest that you make a Rockfin account and you get comfortable with the Rockfin platform, because you never know. You never know when they may go, "Hey, that guy over there." I mean, they've been not appreciating my content for a long time, but I mean, they haven't really been super, the hammer has not dropped super hard, but it has a few times. I've gotten a few strikes, but I'm just saying I don't know when they may ramp it up or not. All right, real quick, great ways to support this channel are paypal.me/Kevin Sandbloom, Venmo @Kevin Sandbloom, Cash App @Red Llama Music, and buymeacoffee.com/Black Bear News. And I appreciate y'all that do support me, and Patreon also is a good one too. Let's see. Fenrir, as usual, predicting doom on a short timeline. I don't know. Who knows? My thoughts are eventually, and sooner or later, it doesn't really matter. He says this is the coolest year for the next 250,000 years. Should we breach the IPCC's 1.8 later this year? Is that what, really? Currently over 1.5. See, I mean, maybe. I'm not saying that's, I'm not even, don't even know why I laughed at that, because it's a possibility, but I just think it might bump along a little bit slower than, than the old, like, well, this is it, and then the temperature just goes straight up, and then that's it, and it never comes back down, and we're at 5C in 2026. Like, I don't know about that one. Could be. I'm not saying it couldn't happen. I just don't know about that one. Again, my thoughts are that it might bump along just a little slower, but eventually we'll all get there. Anyways, it will trigger feedback loops that will propel us unstoppably past 3C in 30 months. And we go extinct. Bing, bing, bing. All right, that's what he's saying. I don't know, man. That would really suck if that was true. All I can say is that would really suck if that was the truth. you know, prepare for the worst and all that. Let's see. Got a couple minutes left in the show. It's hot as heck out here. So I'm going to cover a few more stories, and I may leave off. Who knows? We'll just see where this goes. I don't know. I usually do an hour, and it's hard to do it any longer. It's also hard to do it any shorter because there's too many. But it's super hot. It's very, very hot in this studio right now. Like I'm sweating, sitting here sweating, and it's getting a little uncomfortable. I can feel the heat just radiating down from the roof onto my head. I mean, yeah, there's lots of evidence that things can spiral out of control real quick. So, it will be interesting, though. It will be interesting. Because if we do breach one of those guardrails, one of those points in the climate change ladder, it'll be interesting how people respond to that. It'll be interesting to see what people start, to realize. I think actually more people realize than we know. Or they are not letting on. They, just like they realize, they understand, they see what's happening, they see where it's going, they totally get it, and they're just doing everything they can to block that out of consciousness. And that's a very human thing to do. It's a very human thing to do. What can I say? All right. Oh, Gabe sent me this, and I did want to talk about this. This is, well, one of the reasons that it's very difficult to just stop oil, as they say. I mean, there's so many. There are a lot of reasons, but this is one of the very interesting reasons. Hold on one second. Let me, I don't want to miss if anybody did contribute, I don't want to miss any messages, but, so give me one moment, but I'll get y'all, get to it eventually. All right. Here we go. EU set to propose mass exit from energy charter treaty. A treaty. This is actually a pretty wild story. And one that I wasn't aware of. And this reminds me of the TPP. Remember the TPP that Hillary Clinton and Obama and all the Democrats and basically all the neocons or neolibs, whatever you want. They were like full, like, yes, this TPP is the thing that we need. It's going to be great for international trade. But what the TPP was the underlying framework basically gave ultimate control to international corporations. It was a further empowerment of international corporations, and it was going to give them the power to sue sovereign countries who maybe didn't want to do business with them, or maybe they got a new president, or maybe they had a regime change or whatever, and they wanted to kick these corporations out of their countries, it would give the corporations the power to sue these countries for lost future revenue, among other things, right? It was going to set up like a tribunal that would over, and the tribunal was going to be basically people who were favorable to the corporations. It was going to be just bad, global capital on steroids. Anyway, so this treaty actually sounds a lot like the TPP. The European Commission is readying a proposal for EU countries to jointly quit an international energy treaty after some governments already pledged to leave over climate concerns. The 1998 Energy Charter Treaty, which has around 50 signatories, including European Union countries, lets energy companies sue governments over policies that damage their investments. So if you guys say, hey, again, there's a lot of confusion about what's really important for the people in charge. Anyways, I won't go into that. It lets energy companies sue governments over policies that damage their investments, a system initially designed to support investments in the sector. But in recent years, it has been used to challenge policies that require fossil fuel plants to shut, raising concerns in some European capitals that this is an obstacle to addressing climate. Well, really? A commission spokesperson told Reuters it will make legal proposals for a coordinated EU exit in the coming weeks after EU countries, some of which already planned to exit the treaty, could not agree to pass reforms to it, which would have allowed government to phase out protection for fossil fuels. As it stands, the treaty is not in line with the EU's investment policy and law, and with the EU's energy and climate goals, the spokesperson said. 4 sources familiar with the discussions told Reuters that the EU executive will make the proposal next week. 3 of the sources said Brussels had considered a partial exit that would let some countries stay in the treaty, but opted against it over legal concerns. Pressure is mounted on Brussels to lead an EU-wide exit after Denmark, France, Germany, Luxembourg, the Netherlands, Poland, and Spain announced they plan to quit the treaty. Italy left in 2016. But the proposal is likely to be opposed by countries including Cyprus, Hungary, and Slovakia, which have said they would prefer to stay in an updated version of the accord. Any proposal will need backing from a reinforced majority of member states and support from the European Parliament, which has publicly backed the idea. So, the unreformed treaty has a sunset clause that would protect existing fossil fuel investments in Europe for 20 years, even after the EU quit. Oh my God. That's insane. So, as it stands, even if they all quit, it would protect existing fossil fuel investments in Europe for 20 years. Do you see how difficult it is to even address? Again, if you don't know what's going on, it's hard to make intelligent comments on. Well, why do they still? I mean, the fossil fuel industry has it set up so that you can't quit using fossil fuels. On top of the fact that fossil fuels basically power our industrial civilization. So if you did quit fossil fuels, a lot of people would die. A lot of people would go hungry. A lot of people wouldn't know how to deal with it. So, there are not only legal, financial, and structural, tentacles that the fossil fuel industry has, basically on everything. and it's just a very difficult thing to stop doing it. So when you say things like, why are you still driving, or why are they still flying planes, or why are they still come on now. Anyways, but this is I didn't know this existed, and this is a pretty wild story, and I'm sure all kinds of these. I'm sure there are probably more of these types of agreements, treaties. You say you want to quit the fossil fuel. You say you're going to wind down fossil fuels. Well, you're going to pay. Despite leaving in 2016, Italy was last year made to pay $206 million to a British oil company for restricting oil drilling. European officials hope that they can arrange that the treaty is not enforced between the EU member states, partly neutralizing the sunset clause. The reformed version would have let governments end investment protections for fossil fuels, a power the EU and the UK planned to use to phase out protections in 10 years. Switzerland plans to remain in the treaty while the UK's position is unclear. Other states in Central Asia and Japan have shown no interest in either reforming the treaty or leaving it. It's a pretty big treaty, right? If it's got all EU states in Central Asia and Japan. All right. But this is if you wonder why, again, too, I mean, there's all kinds of reasons, but this is one of them. If you're wondering why the powerful people get out there and they go, this climate change is really bad, and you're like, but you just approved oil drilling in the Baltic. You just extended the leases for all these platforms in the Gulf of. What do you mean climate change is bad? You just approved drilling in Alaska. There's a reason why that's happening. Or many reasons. Anyways. All right, guys. You know what? I'm going to end it here. And I got to get on to doing some things with my day that doesn't involve sitting in a hot shed. It's not a shed, it's a garage, but feels like a hot shed right now. The giant heads, I do like the giant heads for sure. I thought those were pretty cool. Does anybody know who all these characters are? Because I don't know. I'm guessing one is Merkel. Is another one of these the Mark Rutte guy? I don't know. Anybody know who all these? Anybody want to win a prize if they can guess who all these people are? I don't know. I don't even know what the prize would be. A gold star. Macron is on the left? On the right. Hold on. Is that Macron? Oh, it could be. I guess you're right. It looks like kind of Macroni. Macaroni. Who are these people? Is one of them the prime minister of the UK that lasted like 6 weeks? What was her name? Anybody? Merkel, Trudeau, Macron, and the British guy. Merkel. That's your guess, Poppy. Trudeau. Is that Trudeau? No. I see Macron. I don't see Trudeau. All right, guys. That does it for me. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. And I will see you all tomorrow at the regular time of 12 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. Until next time. Peace.
oh, oh.